Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Easton Cook and I fly a lot. So when I see something happen on an aircraft, I'm always like, oh come on, how'd you not know that? But recently it's come to my attention that the rules and regulations that I and my fellow flight attendants know so well and believe to be common sense may not be as well known among those who fly infrequently. So I decided to make this video to give you the passenger basics. There'll simply be 5, and before we even cover those, y'all make sure and subscribe. Support this channel by using that thanks tab right below. Any support is greatly appreciated. Seriously, it helps a lot. And also, I normally say this at the end, but follow me on Instagram. I've been posting a lot lately, and so I would love for you to join me in my day-to-day. Now let's dive in. Number 1, let's start on the ground. When the aircraft is moving on the ground, we call that taxiing. And you cannot be standing while the aircraft is taxiing. Actually, with the FAA, it's called the taxi rule. So it's important to note that if you do stand up while the aircraft is taxiing, then the aircraft is actually supposed to stop until you sit back down and fasten your seatbelt. Of course, if it's safe to do so. The aircraft might be in a place where it can't stop, but when it can, it will. This is very important for me to tell you about because if you didn't know that, then you would of course naturally think, well yeah, I'm gonna stand up real quick. If I can stand up in flight, I can stand up on the ground. But that's not the case. So when you try to run to the bathroom before takeoff or after landing, then the aircraft's most likely gonna stop until you get out. And y'all think about this for a second. That means you walked all the way to the lavatory, went into the lavatory. The flight attendants probably just made an announcement saying all passengers must be seated. The aircraft stopped. All the passengers on the plane are waiting to get to the gate so they can make their connections. And that means everyone's silently just sitting there, and then they hear a flush. They hear the lavatory door open. You walking all the way back to your seat, you sit down, and then the flight can move. That's a lot of pressure. So instead, avoid the whole scenario I just gave you, and when the plane is on the ground and it's moving, get in your seat, seatbelt on, and wait for that seatbelt sign to come off. Number 2, the overhead bin above your seat is not yours and yours alone. And I wish it was. I do. Honestly, as a flight attendant myself, I wish everyone had their own overhead bin space and all bags would fit no matter what. But that just is not the case. So having said that, please don't be shocked when if you board the plane a little later, you get to your seat, you open up the overhead bin, and it is full. Do not fret. Instead, just look for any other open overhead bin to put your bag in. We're all in that big metal tube together, so let's just be mindful of that and try and respect everyone. And I mean, this really goes for everyone. Because when you put smaller items in the overhead bin on a full flight, that means that there are other passengers who now have to check their carry-on. When you could have just put your backpack underneath the seat in front of you, your purse, your jacket, whatever, and they wouldn't have had to check their bag. Anything that can go underneath the seat in front of you and fit should go underneath the seat in front of you. And like I said, y'all, I wish there was more space. If I could snap my fingers and it just happened, I would. I would totally Thanos those planes and everyone would have overhead bin space. But I don't have the Infinity Stones, and honestly, I probably wouldn't actually waste my wish on that. I'm gonna retract that. But if I could help, I would. Just be respectful and mindful that there is limited overhead bin space. Number 3, tight connections. Y'all, this is a wild one. You booked the flight. You saw the itinerary before you clicked purchase. So this is one thing I don't understand, and maybe I never will. You knew you were scheduled to land at 4 p.m. and your next flight takes off at 4:30 p.m. So please, if you're gonna do that, if you're like, oh yeah, you know what, I love adventure, I'm booking the flight, I'll just be running to the airport. If you're gonna do that, do not act shocked when you do have a short connection and you do have to get off that plane quickly and people aren't getting off very quick. Because when you booked that flight, you didn't give any time for any type of delays whatsoever. Now, it may have been cheaper and maybe that's the reason, right? You tight connection, you may not make that next flight, so it's a little cheaper, but it will add stress to your life. And if you think it's gonna work out perfectly, if you're like, nah, 30-minute connection, I can make that for sure. Just remember, there are so many things that have to go right for that plane to board up, taxi out, take off, fly, land, taxi in, park at the gate, take all the luggage off. There's a lot. And then also, not only that, if your gate is scheduled to be close by on your landing gate, that is always subject to change. So if you're like, well, yeah, I'm going into A3 and my gate's A6, so I'll be fine. All of a sudden I'm coming into A3 and my gate is in another terminal now. Hold up. Just many things could go wrong for that flight to be delayed. So book and plan accordingly. Now again, look, if you're one of those that's like, hey, it's worth it, then great. Just don't be shocked or upset if something does delay your flight. Because in the end, the power of planning, it's really yours. Number 4, seat assignments. Some airlines allow open seating. You know who you are. But most others have assigned seating. So that means that you book your ticket and you book your seat, and so you know where you're sitting before you even get on that aircraft. With that understanding, most of the airlines that allow you to book reserved seating also allow, hey, you know what, I don't care where I sit, so I'm just gonna book just a basic ground ticket, and wherever you put me, I'm happy with, as long as I'm on the plane. And that's fine, that's usually a cheaper ticket, which, hey, I'm all about. If you take that option, do not be shocked when you get the seat in the very last row. It's a middle seat and it's right next to the lavatories. Please do not act like there was some kind of great injustice done to you because it's like, whoa, that's what I get? Of course it is. Those are the last seats to be filled. There's a reason that nobody's booking those. Because nobody, I mean, let's be real. Everyone wants to be first off the plane. Nobody wants to be near the lavatories. Now, I'll tell you, as a person who flies by taking whatever seat is left over on the plane, I would gladly take that seat. Matter of fact, I would take the lavatory potty seat if I could. If I could sit in the lavatory and somehow strap in and sit there on the toilet, I would take that. But for everyday passengers, when you're comparing airlines and you're comparing flights and you're thinking about the service and you're thinking about the price and all of that stuff, if you choose to take the option where it's like, hey, whatever we have left, we're gonna give you, do not be shocked when it is what nobody else wants. The only time you can really be upset about your seat assignment is when when there's an aircraft swap, which can happen. It's not often, but it can. And that's where you bought a window seat. So you get on the plane, you expect a window seat, and then all of a sudden, due to the aircraft swap, it's now an aisle seat, a middle seat, something you didn't want. And it's like, wait a second. And I get the frustration there because you planned for one thing and you didn't receive it. So with that being said, be polite, be respectful, be kind, reach out to customer service after. Lastly, number 5, prior to boarding the aircraft, have all of the stuff that you want out of your bag. This will save you, your fellow passengers, and the flight crew so much headache. Ask any gate agent, flight attendant, or even just any passenger. Basically ask any person who's flown on a plane what the most stressful part of their experience was, and I can almost guarantee it's gonna be boarding. Boarding is already such a stressful experience because you are lugging all your stuff in a very narrow aisle, trying to get to your seat, and if the person in front of you is taking a while, then you have to stand there in the aisle and just wait because there's no way around them. So here's what I'm gonna save you from here. Don't be that person that everyone's waiting on. If you're boarding that plane, it should be as simple as you roll up to your seat, you put your luggage away, and you sit down, and it's quick. But all too often what happens is people wait until they get to their seat, they put their luggage up in the overhead bin, and then they begin to unzip and dig out all the stuff they want to take out for the flight. And what happens is there's a line buildup behind them. So people are just standing there like, I would love to get to my seat, but there's no other way around them, which is just the logistics of the plane, the reality of the plane. So you just have to wait. But this holds up everyone behind you who's just trying to get to their seat. And then also it stresses the flight crew out because they're trying to get the flight out on time. So here's my advice. Let's save ourselves the stress and the hassle. When you're in that gate area and you're just waiting for the flight to board, get what you need out within reason. I get it. If you have a lot of stuff for some reason that you're like, well, I need all of this stuff out. Okay. If you have a backpack, I recommend putting it underneath the seat in front of you. That way you have your laptop and everything that you need in your backpack. And then any of the miscellaneous stuff that you don't really need during the flight in your carry-on baggage, put that in the overhead bin. Because like I said, boarding can sometimes be the most stressful part of the whole flight experience. But it doesn't have to be. All it takes is a little forethought and you never have to experience this stress. And that's it. Those are your passenger basics. We're done. We did it. Apply these 5 simple things and you're gonna have an incredibly pleasant flight. And you'll wonder, why in the world are all these people complaining about flying? Flying is so easy. Every flight, you'll sit there and you'll just be like, man, what a stress-free experience. I am so glad I took Easton's advice. I want that for you. Y'all, thanks for watching. Make sure and subscribe, like the video. Also, you can use that thanks tab below to support this channel. Again, any support is greatly appreciated. You can follow me on the socials and shop my Amazon storefront using the link in the description below. Y'all, for real, follow me on Instagram, Easton Explores. I post my daily life there. I would love to get to know you better. And that's it, y'all. I'll talk to y'all next time. God be with you.